everyone, and welcome to Teamfight and Tactics. I'm ImpetuousPanda, part of the Rising Legends broadcast team, and I'm joined today by one of my favorite players, and I mean it this time for real. It is Snoodyboo, representing Spain, representing the hopes of many Spaniards when it comes to big competitions in TFT. Snoody, how are you doing today?
I'm feeling great myself, actually. How are you doing?
Doing good. Happy to be here with you for what will be our first, I think, lengthier interview. I'm really going to be able to get to know a lot more about your past and kind of your journey in TFT as well. So let's start things off with your past. Outside of gaming first, anything that you're happy to share with our viewers in terms of your kind of personal life, in terms of, is TFT your full-time thing? Have you done other things? Have you worked outside of TFT? Where are you from? Stuff like that.
Well, I mean, I've been doing streaming for about 7 years. Before that, I used to study translation, and I did German, English, and Spanish. I didn't really work as much as a translator. I mean, just for like a year or something. Then this kind of started popping off and just went into this direction. And I'm pretty happy about that. Outside of that, I've done like a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I was a waiter for a while. But I mean, I've just been focusing on streaming these last years mostly, yeah.
Now, when it comes to your gaming history before TFT, what was that like? Was it casual? Was it, more competitive like it is now? What was your kind of introduction into gaming, and how did it evolve into the place it is now?
So the first time I actually tried to take it seriously, I used to play Hearthstone back in the days on my iPad. And one day I just got an email that I qualified for a tournament. I didn't even know that those things existed. They told me I had to go to Madrid because I was just ranking. I got a good spot there. So I went to Madrid, took a bus, could barely afford that bus, I remember that. And then at that event, I was the Spanish player that popped off the most. So I made it to day 3, I almost made it to the next stage. And then everybody started telling me that I should create a Twitch channel, a Twitter channel and such. I didn't really think about any of that before, but then when I got home, I created like a Twitter account. It got 1,000 followers on the first day. I got rated by the 2 biggest streamers ever in Hearthstone. I remember I was streaming on this laptop that was so shit. I mean, it was just crashed down with anything that happened. And it got rated by like P-Link and Arca Wonder. They each rated for about 1,000 viewers. So my computer couldn't handle the notifications from the follow alert, which was a Baloo dancing around the screen. And it just turned off. And I was like crying in my room because I was like, my first stream ever, I got these huge raids. I was so happy, but it just couldn't handle the pressure.
Yeah, it must have been frustrating to have that, it kind of should be the best moment ever, but it's become like a ball of stress that you can't really handle. I feel you, but I think now you have those viewer numbers all by yourself without any raids necessary, so we've made it. It took some time, but you've definitely made it, I think, now. You mentioned, obviously, Hearthstone, that being kind of your first introduction to the more esports side of things, but growing up, were you always a competitive person? Was it something that developed, let's say, more recently with strategy games? Or were you always someone that just wanted to win and always had this kind of drive to improve and to compete?
I mean, I think it started when I was a teenager, more or less. I've been in gaming like since I had a computer, since I was like 16, more or less. I've always been very competitive. Back in the days with WoW on a private server, and then with League of Legends as well. I sucked at both of those, so that was kind of bad, and that's why I kind of quit on that. But in strategy games, it seemed like a better fit for me, so that's what kind of got the grind going.
I think we had a similar journey. I think most strategy game players are kind of rejects from the FPS and the MOBAs, and suddenly they find a home for their low APM skills
exactly.
in TFT and in card games. I think we're very similar in that regard. Going to TFT though, how was that for you? Was it immediately like Hearthstone where you found success right away and you kind of were competing at the highest level? Was it a slower kind of introduction over the first few sets? How was the experience for you with TFT?
So it was a scary time actually, because I kind of made it as a Hearthstone content creator. I was like averaging 300-400 viewers. I could actually live off that back then. It wasn't like the nicest salary, but at least I could make a living out of my esports career, which was nice for me. And then this Dota chess game came out, which was just so fucking awesome. I was addicted. I was playing off stream, and then I started switching the Hearthstone stream for Dota chess. I made Queen rank there. I was pushing another account to Queen rank. And I was just so addicted that I was confronted with this situation. I didn't really know if I wanted to quit Hearthstone, because it was a chance to make a living for sure. But the other thing was probably just a moment of glory, right? And then Riot announced their own auto chess, and I was like, okay, this has to be the chance. So then I thought about it for a few weeks, and I said, okay, I mean, if it doesn't work out, I'll just get back to translating. Doesn't matter. At least I gave it a shot. And the first few months were actually pretty sucky, because all my viewers dropped like a lot. Even though I was high ranking, I mean, it was just really hard to keep up, because all these huge content creators for all kinds of games like League of Legends and whatnot, they were doing awesome content, and I was just like number 30 whatever the fuck on the list. Nobody would have come into my channel. But since I was constantly challenger since the set one, I'm not really sure if I made challenger back then or not. But I was high ranked. So at some point, these other people started moving away, and I got invited to some events from eBay and stuff like this. And I actually won some of those, so people started to get to know me, and I guess we slowly evolved into this point.
And when it comes outside of your streaming career, more your TFT from a competitive standpoint, when obviously set 6 is when Rising Legends started and kind of it all became much more professionalized and much more structured when it comes to the circuit with Golden Spatula Cups. Before that, it was a bit different, let's say, in many regards. At what point, what set, let's say, do you think you really made that jump into saying, I can actually compete to be among the best in EMEA?
Oh, well, I mean, if you're talking about ladder, I think I've been there like pretty much all the time. If we're talking about tournament experience and actually proving those results on a competitive scene, I think that's been more recent, maybe like the past set or past few sets, because my mental was just not on the same level. I used to try to prove myself that I was this huge Omega Flex player, and just doesn't work like that, right? And these people are going to crush you because they're very good at the game, and they're going to play the meta comps, and I had to be the cool one. I had to fart around, and yeah. So when I started realizing I just had to play good stuff, it went better. Yeah.
And set 8, of course, kind of entering into the set we're currently on set 9. Set 8 was, at least from competitive standings and kind of results, was your breakout set. It sounds weird saying this considering you've been one of the OG players on ladder and you've been around in the content creation space for a long time in the EMEA, but when it comes to actually making it to the day 3s of GSCs, making it to the European finals, that was in set 8. How was that whole feeling for you, finally seeing that, you know, you are able to achieve these things, that it wasn't just like kind of a pipe dream for you?
I mean, that breakthrough was just probably one of the most awesome moments in my life. I remember just breaking down and crying when I knew I was made to the European Championship, because I've been trying so hard for so long. Participating in the tournament itself was not that great because I got crushed, but just making it there was awesome because at some point I thought, maybe I'm just not good for this, right? I mean, I could get the ladder results, but what's that worth if it just ends there? So I was really, really happy. And I mean, whenever you set yourself for a goal, right, and you achieve it, it's great. Yeah.
You mentioned your playstyle being very flexible. I think I agree. From what I watched all the way back in set 6, set 7, you were always trying to be slightly more innovative than was correct to do, or kind of was too risky how much you were trying to innovate, let's say. In terms of your mental, you also mentioned that this kind of went hand in hand, that didn't give you the great results. What do you think separates you as a player? What do you think are the benefits or the positives about your approach to the game and overall maybe your personality or character when thinking about competing in TFT?
I mean, I think I'm mostly not scared to think outside of the box. Like, my biggest problem is that when there's one or two good comps, people are gonna beat me hard because I'm not good at mastering one or two comps specifically. But let's say there's like 4 or 5 strong comps, and the regular path to get to those level 7 spots or level 8 spots, everybody knows those, but I usually tend to find like a 1 or 2 units that I really like. In this set, it could be like Gwen or Callista or something, and I just profit a lot of that because nobody really buys those units as much. Yeah.
Got you. And do you think there's anything you want to improve on? Anything that you think, looking at other players that you think they do very well? It can be from a playstyle perspective, from a mental perspective, from how they approach the game, from how much they play or how little they play. Is there anything you think you can work on to become a more complete player?
Okay, so one of those is for sure confidence. I mean, I really envy the people that just trust their gameplay so much. There is one of the examples that comes to mind is maybe Lelouch. He's obviously one of the top tier players in Europe, and he believes it, right? So that's one of the huge differences. When you believe in your gameplay, you have to roll down at that level 700, elevate, or whatever it is. If you have to roll down to 0, he just knows he has to do it with confidence because that's his spike. And if you believe in yourself, it probably works out better. I cannot believe in myself. I'm always shaking about my decisions, even though I know they're right sometimes. And the other would probably be that I need to work on some straight lines and forcing comps a little bit more. Like this set, a great example of that is that the Noxus, the vertical Noxus comp, right? Which is pretty much straightforward, Katarina and Darius. But you need to know when you have to go for that spot, get those win tree, and you get those extra stacks. I need to work on that a lot, for sure.
Yeah, it's a very precise line. You have to really execute it perfectly, or else it kind of, like an MS Squad in set 8, kind of does not really work out. You don't have that kind of the perfect scenario playing out. We're talking about set 9. You mentioned some units, you mentioned some comps. I guess it's time to talk about the set itself. you didn't allow me to introduce it first, but now we'll get into it by force. What are your thoughts on the set? Obviously, coming from set 7 and set 8, I'm not sure how much you enjoyed the set mechanics for those sets, but they were very divisive with the player base in general. Some players loved them, some players hated them. With set 9, at least in PvE, and with the first patch, overall, it seems like the reception was much more positive as a whole, and it seems like the inertia of the set with the player base and the viewers and even pro players was quite good. Was that your reaction as well? Did you like what you were seeing for this set?
Yeah, I mean, I truly believe that they're doing a better job. Every set they're just improving with the balance overall and with the decision making. I was really hyped about Legends. I'm kind of disappointed at this point because it just doesn't really feel like they make a difference. It's either there's one broken Legend and there's like no set mechanic at all because we all play the same thing, right? We just left click on the same augment, or nobody has a strong Legend and they don't really matter because they all kind of suck. So that's weird. But the augments and how they're moving on with that is really great. I mean, the fact that they're just adding diversity to all of it is awesome. You can really notice that there's a lot more people working on the team because, I mean, there's some units or some mechanics that are really awesome as far as balance goes.
And with Legends, do you think it's something that can change over time? Obviously, the idea and kind of the mission goal for Legends was to allow players to have a defined playstyle they could lean on while not being just so broken that it was auto pick or something that would force players to have that playstyle just to be competent on ladder at the high level. Do you think that's something that the developers will be able to find that sweet spot where it can give you that nuanced playstyle but not be just so strong that it's auto pick?
Yeah, and I actually think it's quite important because there needs to be a very important balance here. So for professional players, I think that whenever those Legends are in the sweet spot, everybody's just going to play Poro because it's probably the best choice. But for the casual player and the viewer, it's like really important to have their identity, as you mentioned. Like I have a lot of people just go nuts about, I don't know, Caitlyn. And Caitlyn sucks at the moment, but they just love it so much and they play it only just to spam Caitlyn. And I know that they're just going to keep on being hooked on the game because of the Legend itself, right? So for Caitlyn, has to be good. So these people are actually enjoying TFT.
And
or other Legends, of course. Yeah.
Legends and how much they've been kind of warping some of the decisions that happen even before the game even starts. How has your experience on ladder been for set 9? Overall, until now, obviously we haven't done much. This video is an intro to the first GSC, the first major tournament happening in EMEA, but we had an open qualifier, which you qualified to GSC this time through the open qualifier. We've had a lot of ladder snapshots. How has your experience been on a competitive standpoint with set 9 in terms of your achievements and your results until now?
So it's been a little bit frustrating. I mean, I'll take it if I just win tournaments over ladder because that's been like the other way around the last few years. But I just can't manage to get those snapshots going anymore. I guess I'm fine with it because it's very time consuming and kind of destroy your personal life anyway because, I don't know, people like Solo Gesang or the top 4 players, they're just grinding 12, 14 hours a day on 2 accounts. And I'm not really sure I'm going to do that anymore because it's just not worth it, I guess. So the fact that I can actually get through these open qualifiers or master cups for the Spanish circuit, that's really cool because I have an alternative. And I'm happy that I can finally push through those. Yeah.
Did you feel nerves during the open qualifier at all, knowing that kind of you had these other chances to make it through ladder, and this was kind of your plan C, where you couldn't make it through master cups or the Spanish circuit, you couldn't make it through the ladder snaps at the very beginning of the set. And it was kind of your last chance, and we know how it is with the circuit in the EMEA where everything kind of snowballs into everything else. So the moment you miss this first kind of checkpoint, it makes it that much harder to actually think and dream about European finals at the end of the set, and obviously the world champs for the very ambitious players in the circuit. Did you feel any extra pressure or nerves in the open qualifier?
I mean, yeah, for sure, because actually there's another tournament that we played in Spain. So there's like high level tournament, which was 8 players, and there was 1 spot there. Then the Master Cup for 3 spots, and then ladder. And missing out on all 3 of those, I was just starting to think that it just couldn't get the hang of the set. But it really depends. So there's like 2 very weird moods for me. So some days I'll just get into my game and I won't think about much. I'll just have a chat with my viewers, and I'll dance to some music. And forget about everything. I'll just go top 1, 1, 1, 1, and I'll enjoy the game. Other days I'll be shaking. I'll be very nervous, and I just can't get a hold of myself. So I guess, thankfully for this open qualifier, the good version came out, so I actually qualified. Yeah.
Hopefully this good version sticks with us for GSC as well. I think all Spanish players are definitely going to be rooting for you, and 7 other Spanish players are qualified to the tournament. So hopefully we'll have the good version of Snoody for this one. You mentioned a bit already about how much ladder consumes a lot of time for the top players who want to really fight for the snapshots. And I want to ask you, what is your kind of day in the life schedule when it comes to TFT? Obviously, you're streaming full time pretty much every day. I always expect to catch you in the mornings almost every day. And you're also playing at a high level. You're also doing content for YouTube and on Twitch, of course, as well. How is a day in the life when it comes to TFT for you?
Okay, so usually I just get up and I go to the gym with my girlfriend. So that's around like 7:38 or something. We get back, we have some breakfast at around 9. Usually I'll open my stream at around 10:30. I'll stream for as long as I feel like. Maybe if it's a snapshot, I'll go for 10 hours, 12. If not, I'll go for 6. It just really depends on what's happening. And after that, there's either real life with friends, maybe some board games or something like that. Or there's YouTube content in case there's something going on or like a sponsorship. And then in the evenings, it's just a little bit of chilling, watching shows, reading some books. I'm getting back into playing my piano, so I'm really happy about that. And then, that's pretty much the whole day. There's not that much time.
And so with TFT, are you mostly just playing, or do you also set up some time to study or to discuss with other top players from Spain, for example, to also kind of try and complete your understanding of the meta or the patch, not just through playing games and spamming games, but also through learning? Is there anything that you spend time in that sense?
So that hasn't happened this set as much. We do have a practice group with Solo, Gisang, Lusher, there's a Little Bit Pro, and Chuso. I used to try hard with them a lot for the European Championship last set. That was really helpful. Lusher especially is like this huge giga brain. He's got like a million spreadsheets and he's analyzing every detail. So that's very cool. I haven't done that much this set because, I mean, there's just been so much going on. But we do have that group and we probably are going to get back to that. Regarding Spanish players, it's a bit harder because we all have very different schedules. Like some of them get up in the morning, some of them get up in the evenings. Like now at this point, some of them are not really interested in the game because they're not qualified for GSC, or other people like Reforged, they have IRL jobs, right? They're very time consuming, so they just can't make it. And it's not like we wouldn't want to work together, but it's just harder to catch up.
Talking about different schedules, you mentioned Lelouch earlier on about wanting to have his confidence. Maybe I suggest waking up at 1 p.m. because I interviewed him for Teamfight and Tactics for this GSC as well. And you guys have very different schedules when it comes to TFT. You start 7:30 in the morning, go to the gym. He starts his day much later, but still you both somehow managed to find success on the convergence. That's good to hear. You mentioned already a bit about Spain. I think one of the big topics to talk about when it comes to the national leagues are the TRCs, the regional competitions that started mostly in set 8, at least became officialized by Riot in set 8, where they tried to make it so that every region was elevated to the same level as things like the Ultraliga in Poland or the Hex League in France. Spain has had its own kind of circuit with Master Cups. It's been, I think, improved upon for this set as well. What is your general thoughts on the TRCs? Do you think they're helpful? Do you value them? Are you grateful for the opportunities they give to players in the national leagues?
I mean, the fact that they're connected with the official league, that's really great. And I always look at it from a point of view that it could benefit my viewers, right? So the fact that my viewers will actually have a chance to play with me or make it to these GSC tournaments, like people are just so hyped when they get into one of these Master Cups and they make it to day 2. They just really enjoy the game. I mean, for me, there's like so many different paths to actually make it there. So it doesn't really matter if there's one more or less. It's not like I don't appreciate it, but I think it's really just important in order to sustain this whole competitive system. And I'm just wishing that we actually get some more resources at some point, that we're not just a meme league and that we can actually try hard a bit more, but I guess that will come along some other time. Yeah.
Talking about coming along some other time, there are big plans for Riot and for TFT for the future. Maybe not so much with Spain just yet, hoping that will change in the future, as you mentioned. But when it comes to the global scope of TFT right now, we've had very big announcement in terms of how much investment Riot seems to be giving to TFT. They're kind of become its kind of golden child when it comes to esports in the last year or so. They're going to value it a lot more. We have Vegas Land that's been announced for December. We have, of course, just the different sets, how they will work in the next year. It'll be set 10, 11, and 12, all in 2024 without any mid-sets. And it seems overall, TFT will be growing and is growing, and Riot will be kind of supporting that growth. Are you happy with everything that's happening on TFT? What are your general thoughts when you saw all these big announcements being made?
Okay, so specifically this Vegas thing is just awesome. I mean, it's great because it kind of makes me relive the Hearthstone era when they were at peak. So when you had an org back then, it just meant you could travel all around the world, compete in like different regions, right? And all these offline events were happening, and you actually wanted to try hard on the ladder to get to these events. Once you were actually became somebody, you were invited to more of these events, and there was just like a real cool thing going on. I think the Vegas could be the start of it. They also mentioned that this would be like across different regions and countries, right? So maybe it's just the first step. And I really hope for like let's say sets are 4 months long, and each set there's like one in Asia, and then one in EMEA, and then one in Europe again, and then maybe we'll go to Africa sometime, who knows. But the thing is just to keep it going, and people are going to be so hyped about it. I'm really looking forward to it.
And of course, being part of Team Liquid will definitely, I think, help you make sure you're going to be at this Vegas land. Not going to be so easy for most European players because it is a long journey across the Atlantic Ocean to make it all the way to Vegas for this event. We haven't talked about Team Liquid just yet. Run me through how that all started for you. What was kind of your entry into Team Liquid? How did it happen? Was it in Hearthstone? Was it in TFT? And just overall, how much do you value this part of your career?
Okay, so that was actually kind of funny because we were, all of us were pretty much playing for Spanish orgs, and Spanish orgs are fine and so, but they have a big problem that they don't really pay much, so you can't really rely on that to make a living. And at some point, it just gets really difficult. So I remember I was in Giants with Akawonder and Manute, and we just got to a point where we said, okay, we can't handle this anymore. Manute was there in a different role, so that's a different thing. But we decided to leave together, and then we started thinking about some orgs, other orgs in Spain. And I actually suggested to Aka that maybe we should take a leap into the international scene. And luckily, he had some contacts back from the Hearthstone time. So we talked to C9, Liquid, and I can't recall the third one. I always forget, but like the next day in the morning, I had a message from Liquid that they wanted to have a meeting in the afternoon. I was like, what the fuck, this happened so fast? And I was like, okay, they're just gonna listen to us, and maybe they're gonna tell us to go somewhere else. But this person, Katie, she's still in charge of all the strategy games. She was immediately interested. She already knew who we were. She wanted to get into TFT. They were actually looking for some Spanish-speaking people because they wanted to invest in this community. And like the next day, I already had an offer on the table, much better than before. They've been treating me great ever since. I mean, when I switched my PC, I remember I mentioned that to them, and they said, okay, whatever you need, we just get that for you. So I don't know, this whole PC and setup cost like about 7 or 8K, and they paid for all of that, like camera, lighting, the whole PC, the table. They're just awesome. And if I'm gonna compete like in Vegas, they're the first people to DM me, and they're going to make sure everything is going great. So yeah, that was a huge step. And the fact that they're interested in signing with me like for more years to come, I really feel part of this org, and it's just great to feel part of valued as a worker, right? It just doesn't feel like another esports job.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds great to me. I think it's really hard in esports, especially now the last few years, to really find that great relationship between yourself and an org, any player really. And in TFT especially, I think TFT has been a difficult esports for orgs to get into for a diverse series of reasons. But what do you think, in your opinion, is the big barrier? What do you think is going to have to change in the future for that to change, for esports orgs to be more interested in investing in players that are playing in TFT?
Okay, so like most of deals right now are based on Twitch agreements, like mine. So if you're not a content creator, it's just not really worth it for the orgs, because Liquid, for example, has like an ad deal with Twitch. So if we play X amount of ads, they'll get part of that revenue share, and that's why it works for all of them. But if you're like just a competitor, it just doesn't work out because there's nothing they can get a part of. But maybe with the start of Vegas and all of this, it actually makes sense, because you can pay a trip for a player, and that player will give exposure to your team, and if he does well, it'll probably be profitable for you, and those brands will be interested in keeping that thing going, right? So I'm really hyped about all of that happening, and I hope that's going to give chances to other people as well, because especially in Spain, there's like so many great players that just never had a chance to get a good org, and it will be a really good start for them.
You mentioned the Vegas line, you mentioned the kind of international competition. One of the competitions that happen internationally where EMEA has not been doing so well is the World Championships for TFT, and that's been going on for the last few sets. Obviously, you have an excuse, you didn't qualify to them, so it's not your fault. But generally, what do you think is going wrong for EMEA? What do you think we have to change as a region in terms of playstyle, mentality, preparation? What do you think are the main factors that are kind of, we were very dominant in sets 1, 2, 3, 4, but then it kind of fell off with China dominating, and now NA as well in set 8. What do you think has to change for EMEA?
I really think about this a lot, and I'm really sure because, like, I feel bad by myself because if I can't really make it to Worlds, and I feel like I struggle in the European field, and I see them struggle in the World Championship field, I'm like, okay, I'm just like the worst player ever because I will never make it to anywhere relevant. But it's weird because I mean I see them play lose streak, I see them play win streak. I think it's going pretty much fine. But then China's always on top doing their own thing. NA has pretty much been crushing it lately, right? So maybe we should take a look into that. I don't really know what it is, what separates it. I would make an excuse for resources, but like Latin America, they have less resources than other regions, and they're just popping off all the time. So I guess we need to be a little bit more critical of our own gameplay, look a bit more at others. Solo Gesang is a great example of that. If you ever train with that guy, he's got like, I don't know, 20 different streams open, and he's always taking some notes here and there. And he almost made it to the World Championship this time, so maybe that's kind of like the path to take.
Went from a more pessimistic question to a more optimistic one. In your opinion, you've been playing TFT for a long time, since its inception pretty much. You've been around on ladder, you've been around, on streams, in the content creation space. You've kind of seen it all. You've been kind of this overseeing eye when it comes to TFT in the EMEA. If I had to ask you your top 5 historic players across EMEA, according to whatever you think is important when it comes to tournaments, ladder results, brand recognition, in terms of content creation, whatever you think you value most, who's in your top 5?
Okay, so number 1 is like Double 61 for sure. I mean, I think everybody pretty much agrees on that. First world champ, he just does whatever he wants at ladder tournaments, whatever he wants. Plus, he's also a genius for being so young when he started doing that. Probably the second person there is Jing. He's a little bit more silent about it, but I mean, whenever you meet him, it doesn't matter what point of the set it is. He's always. I really like those two guys because they're always doing something different. I don't know, maybe these Chinese Sephiroth from last set. They were the first people to experiment around with it, and they're doing it at a high level in these tournaments and performing very well. And then I guess I should also mention a different direction, like content creators that are very valuable, like Shant. He's been like carrying a lot of weight on his own shoulders to contact these brands and to get the Hex League going and all this French system. Because I mean, if it weren't for him, probably they wouldn't have a strong a scene as they have right now. And maybe he isn't competing anymore because he quit some time ago. But the fact that he's still creating content and doing that for TFT, that's awesome. Then there's a Spanish player that I really like. That's Neo, but Neo 2 TFT. But he's kind of an on-off person. When he's feeling like it, he will go for it. If he's not feeling like it, he probably just won't play for a set or two. But like with the people I've talked on Discord for a longer time, he just does everything so differently. I even remember that we could track his games or his new accounts based on the items he was making. So we've had like a few different moments in TFT, right, where you could build a lot of Solaris and abuse that. But he would just build Solari whenever in any set, and it didn't make any sense. So if you would see a guy in top 10 build a lot of Solaris, it would be him. Or back in when, I don't know, Lee Sin, Dragon Mancer, he would build BT, RFC, and he would go like for a 80 kind of Lee Sin, and he would just go full win streak with that. So it was just really awesome to see, and I kind of miss him. But I mean, I get it. People have stuff in their own real life, so whatever. And the 5th one is kind of complicated, actually, because those 4 were pretty clear to me. But yeah, maybe I'll go with Louch because he's similar to that. It's either Louch or Solo Gesang because Solo Gesang has just been destroying us on ladder for like the past 3 sets. It doesn't really matter what point we're at. He's always going to qualify through ladder. He starts and then suddenly there's a 600 LP gap. So I'll probably go with Solo Gesang then, yeah.
Great answer, especially with Neo. I started casting TFT in set 6 and really being fully involved with, understanding, the best players, who they are, casting those games, etc. So I didn't see that much of him from a consistent standpoint. But anytime he was mentioned with the Spanish top players, you guys really believed he has some very special talent in playing this game. So hopefully he will make a return and he'll justify your answer even more in the future if it's possible. But thank you so much, Snoody, for that insight. Before we end the interview, though, I want to give you a chance to any last message you want to send to our viewers on obviously YouTube channel, but obviously to your viewers, anyone you want to thank or anyone you're grateful for in terms of your TFT career and everything you've done to get to this point.
I mean, just thank you all to get me to this point. Keep on enjoying TFT. There's a lot of great stuff to come. Even though some patches kind of suck, just don't take it out on Mort. I do it myself all the time. He's got a lot on his plate anyway, so Yeah, let's keep on going into the right direction. Thanks for sticking with us, and have a nice and awesome time. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Snoody, for all your time, for your thoughts, for your insights, and best of luck this weekend in the Golden Spatula Cup #1 for set 9.
Thanks, man.